Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Alice Ho, the composer of Chinatown, a new opera commissioned by City Opera Vancouver with librettist Madeleine Thien and Hoisanese curator Paul Yi. Today's streaming event will have two premieres of two songs and two excerpts of Hoisanese aria from the opera. You will hear commentaries from the artists and performers, and a Q&A at the end of the performance where we can share our thoughts with the audience. This opera is set in the early days of Vancouver's Chinatown, spanning across 3 generations and 2 families. This is a moving story to celebrate human spirit of love and resilience. As a Chinese-Canadian composer, I'm so honored to be the music creator of such an important work. In the last 16 months, I had a great time working with City Opera Vancouver and my esteemed librettist and co-writer, Maddie and Paul. Thank you for all the support and knowledge you have given me to make our collaboration so enjoyable and meaningful. And bravo to all the musicians who have put their heart and time to learn the music so well and performed so beautifully for us. Today's streaming event is made possible through the support from Canada Council for the Arts. My special thanks to Ordinary Media and sound engineer Peter Olsen for the fantastic job in audio and video recording. Without further ado, please welcome our first speaker, the Artistic Director of City Opera Vancouver, Dr. Charles Barber, and thank you very much.
My name is Charles Barber. I'm the Phony Baloney Artistic Director for City Opera Vancouver, and we are the production company for a new Canadian opera called Chinatown. It is a history piece, it is a love story, it is utterly contemporary, it is a history in a way never seen before in Canadian opera. It is a story of family and neighborhood, of resistance. It deals with racism and endurance, with hope and promise, and with the very ways in which Chinatown the neighborhood, Chinatown the people, and Chinatown the story and the music are now brought back to life and given new life and restored in that life with, we hope, a sense of dignity and purpose. Thanks to librettist Madeleine Thien, it is an extraordinary story. We have rarely seen anything like it. She has been working faithfully and tirelessly for years, preparing for this storytelling. Thanks to Alice Ping-Yi Ho, the music is its match. It is a miracle of eloquence and song, a miracle of color and timbre, a miracle of what makes opera wonderful, a story that cannot be told in any other way than through music. And thanks as well to Paul Yi, who has granted us his gift, in eloquence and in translation, to bring us back to the language that would have been spoken and sung in the 19th century by the men initially who came to Canada from Guangdong province and helped build the railway and build the nation, and did so in a language called Hoisan or Toisan. And we're immensely grateful to Paul Yi for that contribution. I would particularly like to take this occasion to thank imperatively the Canada Council, the British Columbia Arts Council, the City of Vancouver Department of Cultural Services, Van City Credit Union, and above all, the Vancouver Foundation for immense and generous support for this project. We open on September 13 next year, 2022, at the Vancouver Playhouse. We hope you might be able to join us, and if you do, please bring someone you love.
Hi, I'm Roger Parkin, Principal Coach and Pianist for City Opera Vancouver. Over the last while, it's been my very great pleasure to work closely with Alice on score preparation for Chinatown. And I can tell you, from where I sit, watching this piece develop has been a tremendous joy. Madeleine and Alice have created a tapestry that unfurls over the span of a century across 2 countries. We see characters enlivened, enriched, saddened, bereaved. Doors open, other doors close. Through it all, those eternal themes, home and family and friendship, are ever constant. Underneath all of it is the orchestra. It's a hybrid of traditional Chinese and Western instruments, producing colors that range from shimmering to blazing. It's all achieved seemingly effortlessly by the composer. Now, it's a sound world of incredible flexibility and utility, perfectly suited in its expressive range to Madeleine's evocative text. I'm a musician myself, and so I'm always interested in opera to see the endless ways in which story and music can engage together. It becomes a kind of a huge symbiotic dance where the libretto infuses the tonal world of the music. The music in turn underlines and shades elements of the libretto. It's a balancing act that's critical to the entirety of the piece. If the composer's world and the librettist's world aren't a perfect fit, like a key in a lock, then even before one note is written, the 2 sides might be on track to forever elude one another. So that early fit right at the outset is so important to the success of the project. So it was really wonderful to see Alice and Madeleine engaging the materials early on with such mutual understanding and compatibility of vision. I think we all agree the result is truly special indeed, and we're very much looking forward to bringing it to the Vancouver Playhouse September of 2022. We'll see you there.
My name is Madeleine Thien, and I am the librettist for Chinatown. The libretto has gone through so many drafts. It's gone through community workshops, a lot of feedback, a lot of restructuring, rebuilding, reimagining. And so to see it at this point where Alice has been able to record these 2 extraordinary pieces of music is a thrill. Such a joy, kind of miraculous and amazing to me. The libretto, was reimagined in part with Paul Yi, who did the Hoisanese writing, translation, more than translation. And that grounding in the language is such an integral part of this opera. And it's astonishing, beautiful for me to see Maeve and Vanya and Katie and their incredible expression of the music that Alice has written. And I think the vibrancy and the texture and the complexity of the music is really moving for me. So I'm just so happy that we're able to share these part way manifestations of the opera in anticipation of opening night in 2022.
Hi, I'm Paul Yi, and I translated the parts of the libretto that are sung in Hoisanese, the dominant dialect of early Chinese migrants to Canada. In this short video, you hear some singing in Hoisanese that was done during the auditions. It's really important that you note this because Hoisanese is a very tonal dialect and we haven't had formal rehearsals yet. As a child, I grew up in a household where both Cantonese and Hoisanese were spoken and attended Cantonese language school in Vancouver, Chinatown. At university, I studied Mandarin. While working on this translation, I gradually discovered how my childhood Hoisanese had become corrupted by Cantonese. To be sure, dialects change over time, but because of similarities between those 2 dialects, there were places where my Hoisanese veered off course. And this was easy because Cantonese is a much more powerful language used in Hong Kong and therefore transmitted via cantopop music as well as Hong Kong movies and TV series all around the world. For this translation, I relied extensively on online dictionaries. The opera involves the early migrants to BC and Vancouver, and we wanted this story to be told in their original languages. It's one way that we show respect for those pioneers who came before us and endured hard times. As well, many Chinese Canadians of my generation, that is, those who were born in the 1950s and 1960s in Canada, grew up with Hoisanese only to lose it to that other very powerful language, English. With this opera, then, we hope to bring some of today's thoroughly assimilated Chinese Canadians back to their mother tongue. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Vanya Chan, and I'm a lyric coloratura soprano. I'm performing the role of Wen Li in Chinatown, a new opera commissioned by City Opera Vancouver with music written by Alice Ping Yi Ho, the libretto written by Madeleine Thien, and Hoisanese text by Paul Yi. I had the great fortune of working with Alice on her upcoming CD, A Woman's Voice, and one of the pieces featured in the recording is the Sisters Duet from Chinatown. It gave me an opportunity to begin exploring the role of Wen Li, a young girl who is about 15 or 16 years old with big dreams, growing up in Vancouver, Canada during the 1960s. This duet is a snapshot of the very close relationship between Wen Li and her older sister, Anna. They banter playfully, which we see throughout the opera, but it's especially important at this moment because they're about to say goodbye. Wen Li has always joked about seeing the future, imagining a life with her sister close by, living right next door to her in Chinatown. She never thought they would part ways, but she realizes that Anna has dreams of her own, and it doesn't involve staying in Chinatown. What I love about the character of Wen Li is that we see her change and develop throughout the narrative. She loves Chinatown and the neighborhood she considers home, but realizes that not everyone feels the same way and that things have to change. And through that, she has to grow up quite quickly. It was a joy to record this duet for Alice's CD, and being able to collaborate with other musicians in person really brought this segment of the story to life for me. It allowed me to really embrace the character of Wen Li. I'm very excited, and I look forward to singing the role of Wen Li in 2022 at the City Opera Vancouver premiere of Chinatown.
Hello, my name is Katie Clark, and I had the great pleasure of recording Anna's aria from Chinatown. I was thrilled by the opportunity of performing this piece because I am a huge fan of Alice's music, but I'm also an avid reader and a very big fan of Madeleine Thien's work as well, particularly the novel Do Not Say We Have Nothing, which won the Giller a couple of years ago. So I was over the moon when I found out that they had collaborated together on an opera, and even more thrilled when I found out that I was going to be able to perform one of the pieces from it. Anna is such an interesting character because at this point in the opera, she's undergoing this real sense of conflict. There's this tension between the expectations of her family, the person that she's supposed to become, and this pull to do something else, to follow her passion of becoming a photographer. And I think that's something that many young artists can relate to. I know I certainly can. The tension between what is expected, what society wants from you, the role that you are supposed to fill, and this drive to become something else and to follow a different path. So I hope you enjoy this beautiful aria, Anna's aria from Chinatown.
Hello everyone, my name is Jialiang Zhu. I'm the pianist in the 2 arias of Chinatown Opera. It's my great pleasure to be part of this project. I love the story by author Madeleine Thien and Paul Yi. The synopsis is about 3 generations of Chinese immigrants in Canada. The timeline spans from early 20th century all the way to 1960s. As a first-generation Chinese immigrant myself in the 21st century, I still resonate deeply with the characters, with their experience. I feel their joy, their sorrow, their confusion, their struggles, and I share their dreams. I love playing the music by composer Alice Pingyi Ho and enjoy very much the piano arrangement. The music is so imaginative, vivid, and has a strong sense of narrative. I had the great pleasure to work with 3 soprano friends, Vanya Chan, Maeve Palmer, and Katie Clark. Each of them brings unique visions and artistry to our collaboration. I can't wait to see the full production by City Opera Vancouver next fall. Enjoy the 2 arias.
I has dreams for us. Last year I sent my photos out looking for work. The land phone tracing project, you and I, if we're together, but Thon Bach, he says university is all that matters, all that matters. I found this in the hangman. It's Thon Bach, isn't it? Thon Bach and grandfather Sahi. We are scattered here when and I, best friends, together, I won't let you go. Grandfather was loved, wasn't he? He was beloved, I know. Almost 10 o'clock. Uncle Toy will be here soon. Anna, I can see the future. Okay, little fortune teller, tell me. 10 years from now, it's 1971. You're ancient, 28 years old. Like this, stand up straighter. You have seen the distant land. The distant and you're a photographer, a real one, no more slouching. Finally, you have come home. Am I going to live next door? No. You say, Wenley, you're a physician. Oh, a physicist. A theoretical physicist. Wow! And Thon Bach, you look so well. I'll show you my office. Look at all my books. My books. Oh, Anna, we have missed you. Come back, and I know you can stay long. But we are happy to see you.
so blessed to be amongst by a panel of distinguished artists and performers. In the last year, I have a wonderful experience working with City Opera Vancouver. Thank you, Charles, Roger, Maddie, and Paul for your support, inspiration, and guidance in making my collaboration so wonderful. And I can't thank enough to the beautiful singers and pianists, Vanya, Katie, May, Jalen. You have given me so much heart in learning the music and bring so much joy every time when I watch the performance. I almost cry. So anyway, I want to pass the floor to our pianist, Jialang Zhu, to pick up some questions from the audience.
Thank you very much, Alice. And it's wonderful to get to know each other through this event. Some of the artists who we haven't met in person before. So thank you for this opportunity. As our audience are inputting their questions, I guess I can start with a couple that I'd like to ask. The first one is for Madeleine. I want to know what is some of the inspirations behind the story of Chinatown, and is there any relation to your personal experience? And what does the story mean to you personally? Thank you. This is for Madeleine. Madeleine, if you could unmute yourself, that'll be great.
It was muted.
Maybe it's reception.
Oh.
Just give it a few seconds.
She might be.
Hi, Madeleine. I just asked a question to you. I can repeat again. If you can hear me, could you wave to me for a second? Okay, maybe as Madeleine is working out her connection, I will go to my next question. And everyone, please feel free to type your question. Hi, Madeleine. The second one is for our Hoisanese author, Paul. And it's very interesting to learn how the dialect has evolved and has changed in different contexts. Yeah. So when you worked...
Yes? Okay, someone's car alarm just went off.
Oops. Madeleine just dropped out. Okay, I think she will join back. I'll continue my second question for Paul. So I wonder, when you work on this story, do you have to go back to your relatives in China to consult them on the more original form of the dialect, because you grew up in Canada and the dialect you spoke has experienced changes? And and how was your experience working on the script for this opera particularly?
Well, the experience was wonderful simply because I got to revisit my childhood and to hear the sounds that I grew up with from a youngster until I was at university. I was in a household where every night I could hear this language. But when I realized that what I was writing down for and translating the libretto was corrupted, there wasn't really anybody to go to, because everybody who speaks Hoisanese speaks it slightly different. So everybody from, a grandmother, a cousin, whomever, they've all got a slightly different twist depending on where they live, which village, how old they are. And what I finally defaulted to were these two wonderful online dictionaries done by two academics. And they provide a standardized system to anglicizing, to transliterating the Hoisanese. As well, they produce a pronounced sound, so I can hear exactly what it should sound like. And that's what saved my bacon. These online sites that have been done with so much love for the language, and they're there. So that's how I got through it.
That's so interesting. And thank you for your pronunciation of the name Hong Pong Pong Pak. I think that helped a great deal when we were recording the two arias.
Yes, no, my pleasure. Here's Madeleine. She's back.
Hi, Madeleine. If you can hear me, can you wave to me? Okay, awesome. So, I think.
Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes. So I just asked you a question.
I'm sorry.
I want to know what are some of the...
I heard it.
Oh, you heard it. Okay. If you want to go ahead, like your inspirations behind the story and what does it mean to you personally?
Well, initially I knew I wanted to write about the bachelor community and who came across to work and for many of them for many decades who were not allowed to bring their families with the passing of the Exclusion Act. And I was really interested in both the loneliness of what they experienced and the hardship, but also the forging of community in the ways that they could to the best of their ability. And so the opera is a love story. It's also a story of family and trying to safeguard one another as best as they could. And then it takes a leap into a sort of created family when we move into the 1960s. So I think that was the germ, the beginning. I wanted to write about the many forms that love and protection took in the community over time.
Thank you so much. This is beautiful. And now we have some questions from the audience. Rick Hall asked, so many young people struggle with parental expectations. From which perspective is meaningful to you and this production? Perhaps we can have another panelist answer this question. How about Charles?
Oh, Maddie, Alice, and Paul are supremely well qualified to answer that question. I am a monkey. I have nothing to offer that would be of any value whatever. I was raised by Scots Presbyterians.
I can just
I'd like...
Go ahead.
No, go.
Yeah, go ahead, Madeleine, and then maybe Paul.
Okay, I was just going to say very quickly that actually the trajectories of Wenli and Anna changed quite a lot in the process. We were kept trying to find out how did they make certain decisions in their lives at this sort of crucial juncture. And I think about education and about possibilities and the pressure from an older generation or the way the older generation saw stability for them and security and how maybe they had their own ideas of what stability could mean or what their futures could hold. That came from the community workshops. And a lot of young people who came in and like, I don't know if Anna would think like that. And that was kind of exciting to see because we really had to listen to many different kinds of experiences in response to that question.
And Paul, would you like to chime in?
Well, in terms of expectations, especially on the generation that is Wenli and Anna's, I think the pressure was partly individualism versus family, but it was also a class thing because the Chinese at that time, all those reunified families
were very poor. They weren't well-to-do. The pioneers who had brought them over were not highly successful people. So all of these families are struggling. They're living in Strathcona in what's a slum neighborhood. So the pressure for the children like Anna and Wendy to do really well is enormous. And so the idea to be a singer like Vanya is, it would be unimaginable because of the family pressure on, we gotta eat. So the expectations of that time versus what the expectations of today's young people, I think, are very, very different.
I see. Thank you so much. And the next question is addressed to Katie. And our audience member wants to know, what challenges did you face in performing the role of a young Chinese girl who is trying to find her place in this world?
Thank you very much for the question. First of all, I have to say that I was just thrilled for the opportunity to sing this beautiful, beautiful music. Like Vanya, I was a part of the recording project, A Woman's Voice. And so while we were working on that project, we got to record this wonderful music from Chinatown. So I was just so grateful for the opportunity, because I'm fully aware that this is not a role I will ever play on an opera stage, and I don't think I should. That's totally inappropriate. These stories need to be told, I think, by people who are much closer to this history than I am. But that being said, this music is wonderful. It's beautiful. And so I was thrilled to be able to perform it with Jia Liang, who is such a wonderful collaborator. And I will say that these questions of, familial expectation, parental expectation, I'm very fortunate that I come from a family who has never been anything less than wholeheartedly supportive of my music career. In fact, I'm pretty sure my mom is in the audience today. Hi, Mom. But I think that this is a journey that a lot of young artists can relate to. I'm not a photographer, I'm a musician, but Anna is going into this life. She's taking such a huge risk by pursuing her art form and pursuing this passion. And so in some way, absolutely, that is something that I relate to. The fact that, even though I do have a really supportive family, there's still a lot of baggage around becoming an artist, even today, much less than at that time, I know. But that's a story that I think a lot of us can relate to in the arts. So that was something that I was really pleased to see portrayed so sensitively in this aria. And I was very happy to be part of the performance of that and bringing that to life.
Thank you so much, Katie. I agree. Despite our background, a lot of experience and feelings are shared. Before our audience asks the next question, I have one for our composer, Alice. I know that you combined Western and Chinese instrument in your orchestration, and I want to know how you decide on the choices of instrument and what are some of the influences on your decision.
Yes, I think there are a few criteria. Charles given me a circle of, I think it's 8 instruments to choose, and I like to incorporate some Chinese instrument that has a very expressive voice, like the erhu, and it has some representational symbolism with the characters, because the whole opera has a storyteller, like a Hoisanese singer in singing. I think Paul knows the tradition, the Mokyu style, like a storytelling. So with her role, is telling like an observer, and storytelling is timeless or across space, and I want to associate this character with the erhu, which is almost like a human voice, a very expressive and at the same time kind of sad. But on the other hand, it's a powerful voice to complement the atmosphere of the opera. And the other choices are the guzheng, And another instrument I really love because of it's an ancient instrument, which is a very deep with the Chinese philosophy of how you play the instrument well with all your gesture, all your thoughts. So it's a more meditative side. And of course, we have the dizi, you know, the Chinese flute, actually a couple of Chinese woodwinds, which give a very festive, contrasting side to the, actually more like a southern, even like a southern province of Chinese music that with the trio, the dizi, the erwu, and the guzhang as a very standard trio to represent a folk tradition. So I choose these three instruments in a very intentional way. And the other, I love the harp, and I know we have a fantastic pianist, Roger Patton. He will be our coach and also the pianist in the production. So I want to work with them, and I have the string trio and an oboe. So yeah, I hope the collage of the color can bring out the different sounds and create a special landscape for the audience to appreciate.
Thank you so much. I enjoy learning about the behind the scene because I only play the piano arrangement of it. Next question goes to Charles. I wonder how this decision of Chinatown as a new opera came about, because Canada is such a multicultural country, and there are many diverse communities, and each has rich cultural heritage. And how do you come to the decision to tell the story of the Chinatown community?
Thank you for asking. City Opera Vancouver has commissioned 5 new Canadian operas in the last 9 years. It's part of our mission and our mandate, our purpose, our reason for being. In Vancouver, where of course we're located, in Metro Vancouver now, about 40% of our people are of Asian descent. 40%. Vancouver now is very much a Pacific city. We are immensely, intimately, gloriously committed to and connected with Asia. And to overlook that in Vancouver is foolishness. To welcome it is, we think, wisdom. And the idea came in 2017 when we were just putting together our then newest opera called Missing. You may have heard of this. It's a tragedy about missing and murdered Aboriginal women in Canada. It's been, alas, very successful because the story remains pertinent. So we had the idea to commission a story called Chinatown. And it really wasn't much more than that. All of us who live here, all of us who are born here, are very familiar with Chinatown. As a student, I used to go there all the time. But the power and grace, the beauty and the intimacy, the truthfulness of this story is entirely from Maddie. It is wholly Maddie's invention. It is her gift. When we approached her, it was basically no more than a title. We would like to do an opera about Chinatown, the neighborhood, the people, the culture, the families, the history. That was about it. Everything that has derived since is due entirely to the gift and the humanity of Maddie herself and the people who we have been able to link. I think obviously of Paul, and I think particularly of Alice. At City Opera, when we create a new opera, it always begins with the story. We decided we wanted to do a story about Chinatown. I took it to the board, and the board unanimously said, yes, this is a wonderful idea, absolutely wonderful. Now, who do we get to tell the story? That's the next most important thing. And after a good deal of reading, we settled on Maddie. After a number of conversations, Maddie and I settled on, let's give it a try. And you see the result. On the basis of Maddie's scenario, we then commissioned a first draft libretto on the basis of that. we asked 4 Canadian composers to give us their settings of Verdi's actual text, so that it would not be an hypothetical exercise. What if someone did this? It would be on the basis of real knowledge. This is what composer A, B, C, and D actually did with Maddie's actual work. We took the guesswork out of it. And of course, the jury selected Alice. We're ever so glad this happened. And you know the rest of the story.
Thank you so much. This is such meaningful and relevant work to not only Canadian society, but to Chinese diaspora communities around the world. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. I will pass it back to composer Alice. I think our Q&A session probably wrapping up. Alice, you are muted.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so blessed today to be surrounded by all of you, which I have so much joy working with, and so much inspiration, so much support, and I'm so glad we have an opportunity here today in this platform that we share our thoughts and our collaborations. And also, it is quite valuable for our young singers and pianists here in Toronto who learn the repertoire from Chinatown, and to have a better understanding of this part of important history. So I hope the audience enjoy it, and I really look forward to the next stage. We'll have a workshop in November, and I really am excited for next year in September, the actual production. And yeah, I'd like to thank you for everyone. We have Peter here. He's so gracious. He's a busy guy. He's our sound engineer to record the two songs, Anna's Aria and Sisters Duet. Beautiful recording. And Sage, our IT person, and making this platform so easy for us to communicate, and Kathy Old for the video recording and the direction. So I'm so glad to see everyone here, and I hope everyone have a great weekend, and we will continue our fantastic journey. Thank you so much, and goodbye. Thank you.